Well, welcome this afternoon. It's our pleasure to have with us Dr. Edith Nutescu, who is professor and head in the Department of Pharmacy Practice at the University of Illinois in Chicago. She's recognized as a leader in pharmacogenomics and antithrombotic therapy in terms of research and practice. She recently received ACCP's Russell Miller's Award for sustained contribution to the clinical pharmacy literature. And it's our pleasure to welcome her here in what I'm calling Reflections from Pharmacy Leaders Advancing the Profession. So welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we'll start off with, we'd like to learn more about your journey in terms of your career and your recognition as a leader. And what you may want to do in response to this is maybe include key events that influence your journey or persons that influence you in your journey.
Of course. So I am going to go way back and give you a little bit of a glimpse on my educational background and then how I got to where I am today. So after high school, I ventured into chemical engineering, and so I have an undergraduate degree in chemical engineering. And through my studies as a chemical engineer, I had a love for organic chemistry. And as I was going through the program, I started doing with the idea of, wouldn't it be nice to be involved somehow in patient care? And so from there, my journey took me to a PharmD degree. I am actually a graduate of University of Illinois at Chicago College of Pharmacy. So that's where I work. I went to school there, received my PharmD degree. I'm not going to disclose the year, but several years ago now. And then after my PharmD degree, I pursued two residencies, a PGY1, which has been known as a general pharmacy practice residency, and I completed that residency at Advocate Healthcare Lutheran General Hospital under the directorship of Janet Teeters. And so the late Janet Teeters, many of you might know of her. Janet has been a tremendous leader in pharmacy and in health system pharmacy. And after being an administrator, hospital pharmacy director, and also vice president at the Advocate Health System level, she then ended up working at ASHP, overseeing the residency accreditations for ASHP. Mm-hmm. So Janet is no longer with us, but she has been somebody who has been tremendously impactful and as one of the major mentors in my career who have shaped then my future steps beyond my first year of residency. So after my first residency, then I moved on. So it was very interesting because when I graduated my PharmD, I thought that I'm going to do a one-year residency and function as a clinical coordinator at an inpatient pharmacy or inpatient health system program. But through my training, I realized that my true love is really in primary care, ambulatory care. And so my initial plan got switched. And so I pursued an additional residency, a second year PGY2, with emphasis in ambulatory care, primary care, but primary care with a cardiovascular emphasis. So I came back to University of Illinois at Chicago, and that's where I did my second residency. And then after my residency, I was offered an opportunity by then department head who eventually became Dean, Dr. Jerry Bauman. So Jerry is a second major figure in my career and really in terms of professional mentorship. So he opened that first door for me, hired me as a junior clinical faculty. And my task was to open up a system-wide anticoagulation clinic at UI Health. So while clinical pharmacy services were very well established within the UI Health system, and we've had pockets of care for the specialized patients, we did not have a centralized service for patients with cardiovascular disorders and that needed this neurotherapeutic agent management. So that was my first position. So I came on as clinical faculty and really opened up this clinic, have grown the clinic to that several years later. We've employed 7 pharmacists. We're servicing over 40, 50 patient visit volume per day. Um, we became recognized nationally, internationally, have really then built up the, not just the patient care service and teaching opportunities, but also the scholarship and research opportunities. And so as I gained experience with the service, I took on also clinical leadership roles within UI Health, but also advanced on the academic track from a junior clinical faculty all the way up to a clinical professor. And that was supported by my leadership and research involvement. And then, my journey continued. So as, I felt like I conquered, establishing novel clinical practices, and we've, really went out and figured out ways to build and generate revenue for such services, and then build a research program around that. My next quest was to go out and generate competitive funding, NIH level funding, and build a more competitive research program. So then I transitioned into that, and with that, I actually transitioned from a clinical track faculty to a tenure track faculty. And so, and for many of you, it might be a long-winded story, but, there's several faculty and practitioners and researchers out there that, wonder what is the difference between the 2 tracks. And, I don't know, maybe this is just an example of a path on how one can start out on one track with love for patient care, and then where patient care, can lead to then also a love for research and build a research program guided and fueled by ideas at the bedside. And so that's my story. And so then what happened is I switched tracks and have been successfully funded, and NIH funded since, but also actually mid-career went back to school and received a master's in clinical and translational science, because I felt that, while my residency training has prepared me, gave me an excellent clinical background and trained me clinically very well, I felt that my research skills, could have used a lift. And so I went back and trained in pharmacoepidemiology and statistics and methodology to be able to, compete and lead these large-scale NIH grants. And then my focus then shifted to personalized medicine, cardiovascular personalized medicine, bringing pharmacogenomics to the bedside. So that's where my current funding is. And so I'm currently funded with a large U54 5-year grant, but then have had several other grants that have looked at patient self-care, bringing care for these high-risk patients to their home versus coming into the clinic. And how perfect, right, in today's crisis, so to say, pandemic, right, where again we're now moving to telehealth and telemedicine. And so these are models of care that I have been testing 5-10 years ago, for instance. And so now we're again focusing on really how to integrate even more personalized care to this patient population. So that's my journey, right? So started out as a clinician, turned into a clinical scientist, and navigated, both clinical faculty, tenure track faculty, and now I find myself in academic administration. So successful faculty appointments that lead to opportunities as an academic leader. And so recently, there was an opportunity for leading the Department of Pharmacy Practice at UIC College of Pharmacy, and I was appointed actually last year as the department head in pharmacy practice. So here I'm integrating, it's a very unique, complex, large department. We have 264 faculty, which are comprised of clinical track and tenure track. We have a very large clinical enterprise, and so we have a clinical pharmacist on almost every single service in the hospital and the outpatient care clinics. But we have also a very strong research arm, tenure track arm. So that's where you see my story is unique, but in a way I feel like I have a lot to give and bring back to the table because I navigated both sides. And so I truly enjoy the challenge of working with such a large faculty body and really work on the sides of both clinical needs and research needs.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you very much for that. So, what do you believe is going to be your legacy in 20 years? In other words, reflect on your contributions. What are you most proud of that you feel has helped advance the pharmacy profession?
So I think the big things that come to mind are really my contributions in terms of innovation, innovative, self-sustaining practice models for clinical pharmacy and care delivery in the primary care setting. So I, shared with you the example of starting up this antithrombosis
Right.
clinic and make it nationally, internationally prominent, really have grown it to an N of one, myself to a clinic that brought in 7 clinical faculty, a large patient volume, but also beyond the excellent patient care model and an excellent training site, the ability to combine research with practice. So really being an innovator and leading the path for others to follow. Now, obviously, this opened up opportunities. So other things such as being a contributor and leader to patient care national guidelines for safe use of antithrombotic agents in patients with cardiovascular disease. So throughout my career, I served and contributed to guidelines through American College of Cardiology, American Heart Association, American College of Chest Physicians, but also through our own professional societies like ASHP, American Society of Health System Pharmacists, ACCP, American College of Clinical Pharmacy. And so that's another, contribution I feel, as a pharmacist, sitting at the table and guiding and providing expertise into national guidelines. Several publications, a book that I published with ASHP that I edited, and several other publications that guide practice. And last but not least, I think my current focus of bringing precision medicine to the bedside and really within this, creating roles for pharmacists in precision medicine care delivery models. So this is really a unique opportunity, and who else better equipped than pharmacists to lead the way of bringing this knowledge to the bedside.
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you very much for that. What advice do you have for students in their professional journey as they develop as leaders to help advance the profession?
So I would say a few words of wisdom. It's never too early to join a professional association. So the sooner the better. There are student sections within all our major professional associations. Also identify and work with a mentor or mentors. And so within the faculty that you have within your college and your program, preceptors, the profession, again, it's never too early to go out and seek out guidance and mentorship. Seek out any professional development opportunities that you have. So a lot of our major professional associations have student chapters, and part of their national meetings and regional meetings offer opportunities. And so highly encourage you to be active and be engaged and seek out opportunities. And then as a student, explore different options in practice, teaching, industry, research, and identify what you love and what is the best fit. So, waiting till your last year and deciding then what you want to do. And I don't want to be an alarmist, but I think the message I'm trying to relay here is that the sooner you start exploring, the more you learn, and the sooner you can determine what option is best for you. So shadow, reach out to your faculty, to your preceptors, to pharmacists that practicing in different settings, and ask for shadowing opportunities. Sign up for that summer internship or externship opportunity because this is your time. This is the time to identify what you like, what's the best fit, and then get ready. So let's say if industry is where you want to go, then build your CV, your resume brick by brick, because every internship and externship opportunity or every experience, right, gets you ready for that particular setting. So if it's a residency you want to do and focus on patient care, then obviously get experience with clinical experiences. If it's research, then team up with a faculty member or researcher where you could get some research experience. And so really, maybe I leave you with this: make yourself stand out from the crowd. Okay, how do you stand out from the crowd? And ACCP, actually, American College of Clinical Pharmacy, has an excellent program for trainees. It's called actually Stand Out from the Crowd. And so look this up online, and they have resources available, but it's something that's discussed during professional meetings. And so I encourage you to work towards standing out from the crowd and make yourself known. And then maybe this is last, never burn bridges. Pharmacy is a small world. I'm sure you've heard this, but never burn bridges. Always leave your door open.
Very good. Thank you very much for those insights and words of wisdom. Now, since this is part of a history course and we're studying the evolution of our profession to a more patient-centered one, as we study the decade of 2020, one of the key events in that decade will be COVID-19 pandemic. And so as we study the history, like other events in history that occur in the world, it shapes our profession. How do you see COVID-19 pandemic shaping our profession and being an opportunity for our profession?
So a lot of things are already happening. In fact, I was participating in a meeting with our clinical faculty this morning, and it was very interesting. They were just describing how they had to adapt over the last 2 months or so in their practices. And so they were describing how now they're providing hybrid models, more limited on-site care. Most of their patient interactions are now delivered virtually through telehealth. And so adapting, right, on how we provide care. A lot of changes happening. And so I think the way we know practice models, or we've known practice models yesterday, it's not going to be true tomorrow, and it's certainly not true today. But the good news is that we've already seen opportunities for being recognized, and so pharmacists were already asked to help out with conducting testing, right? COVID-19 testing. Many pharmacists are on the front lines, both in inpatient settings, outpatient settings, community settings. Certainly at UI Health, we have teams in our units, in our medicine floors, in our ED, and so being an integral part of the team and being recognized for what we bring to the table. But really, I think the exciting news is offering us opportunities for reinventing the wheel and coming up with more novel practice models. Again, so integrating technology into what we're doing. And what we're finding is truly that maybe we've needed, in a way, again, it's unfortunate what has happened, but maybe, this unfortunate situation gives us a nudge to think about, novel opportunities. And in a way, we're forced to move forward a little bit, at a higher speed of integrating new technologies to move us forward with more unique opportunities and models. So really being flexible, creative, open-minded, and that future model, I think, is going to be more of an integration of telehealth, various technologies, but I think it's for the better.
Absolutely. Very good. I appreciate that. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nutescu, and for your words of wisdom and insights. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you.